Hey guys, welcome back to the Capital Mindset Show. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. As always, today we're going to be talking about Nike. Nike is actually up 2.76%. This one has been requested quite frequently, I would say, within the group, and I'm just going to be taking a look at it here for you guys today. So Nike, for those of you who don't know, sells a lot of luxury apparel. Oh, no, just kidding. Well, it's debatable, I guess, because sometimes you can find some Nike products that seem quite expensive, but for the most part, all jokes aside, we're looking at basically a sports apparel company with unrivaled, you could say, branding across the globe through their various sponsorships, etc. So definitely a name that no matter where you go in the world is probably recognized, the swoosh symbol. And, they have a bunch of other brands underneath their hood. You could think of Jordans as well. Now, if you go to the investor relations tab, you can you can get their actual financials, and we're going to actually go and do that here today. But as I'm pulling that up, some things that you kind of want to consider with something like a Nike is, okay, what is their moat? What power do they have? And we've talked about companies in the past, for example, like Foot Locker. And Foot Locker is primarily involved with the sale of said products, but do they have the brands? Do they own the brands? No, not necessarily. So they are beholden at the end of the day to something like Nike, Adidas, and Adidas is another one that has been requested. So do not worry, I will get to that one as well. I'm currently not in the office, so it is, I don't have my camera, as you can see, but I'll do as many videos as I can film, and we'll see if you guys even like this format anyway. So taking a look at the company, you can see as the years have progressed since about 2020, even 2019, the revenue or sales has grown decently. And we can see also that they have maintained a strong gross profit margin over the time period. They do have a bit stronger management of costs versus something else. You could think of, regardless of any company that has strong brands, it does seem that they have been hit a little bit, but the ones with the strongest brands haven't been hit that hard. So that's something to consider. And again, I'm going to be using the word branding a lot as a form to describe the strength that Nike has. And again, this recognition globally is, at the end of the day, one of their most powerful tools that they can use in order to keep that pricing power up. Okay, so if we go back to the actual pricing of Nike stock, we can see over the past 5 years, it has outperformed the market. And it has performed about 73.79%, not including dividends, keep in mind you. And if you can see over the past 1 year, it is down 38.78%. And I believe this trough right here, or let's see if it's a trough, is perhaps why it's being requested so much. So people are asking, well, what do I think about it? Well, I don't know, but we'll find out. And year to date, it's down 44.68%. So alongside many companies this year, in the year of 2022, we have seen a good number of them come down, whether or not they have good branding, poor branding, strong businesses, weak businesses, whatever it may be. It's been a bad year for most companies. We have talked about some companies that have actually had a really good year, and there are some in the portfolio that have had an excellent year. But as far as this one goes as a request, it has not had a good year. And you can kind of get a picture for what maybe was going on. You can take a look at something as bird's eye view or as high up as a PE ratio. It's sitting at a 24.27. It is at a decent premium to the rest of the market, and it has maintained a premium for quite some time. Even before this drawdown, it has had a strong premium. Now, kind of going forward from here, we kind of want to consider, okay, what is the position or the financial position of Nike as a company? Is there anything that sticks out? I don't really see anything that kind of concerns me, and this is to be expected. We see a strong cash pile of about $8.5 billion. It is down from $9.8 billion, and we also have the cash or short-term investments. Apologies, has actually risen. So this is some short duration bonds, etc., something like that, more likely. But we can kind of consider this as anything that will mature within 1 year or less. Okay, so going over to the actual liabilities portion, we do see as far as debt goes, it's very manageable relative to the cash position. So nothing to really be concerned with here. And of course, we see that as far as property, plant, and equipment, this is a very asset-light business. Not much is actually held there, okay? So they don't have a lot of property, plant, and equipment. And again, we're looking at a business that has a market cap of about 142 billion US dollars. So very asset-light business, very high margins. And again, if you don't believe me, let's go right back here to kind of get that idea. If you see, remember, this is an apparel company at the end of the day, $6 billion and off of a print of $46.7 billion. So for an apparel company, that is quite strong. And again, refer back to the gross margins. The gross margins are excellent for what this company does sell at the end of the day. It really goes to show you the pricing power they have for the consumer. And one thing you want to consider with this company is the growth in various jurisdictions. Now, this can be found in some of the reports here. So one thing I want to highlight for you guys is the breakdown by geography. So it's very important because Nike has identified key growth markets, specifically in Asia, Greater China. So you might hear Nike on the news regarding China. And China has been a very strong growth market for Nike for the past couple years or so, so the last half decade or so. And if you see any weakness in this area, well, that's not going to bode well for at least the story. That's the key word, the story around Nike. So as an investor, would you be necessarily concerned with this? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you think it's temporary, but at the end of the day, you're going to want to be paying attention to these different geographies. How are they doing? If you believe over time the world will become a wealthier place, then perhaps Nike, you would think, would benefit from such a trend. And I would tend to agree with that. Nike is not the cheapest product option out there. However, it is something that if you think the middle class of the world will continue to grow, then at the end of the day, the total addressable market, and yes, there is that key word, total addressable market, will continue to grow over time. But in a more, let's say, serious context, not the needlessly throwing out that word, total addressable market. But we do see here again with which ones are their strongest markets thus far. But China has had a bit of a drawdown from 2021 to 2022. We know that with everything going on in China, how their economy is doing right now, this is not a surprise. And while the other markets, for example, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, have actually kind of remained relatively flat, so to speak, and North America being very strong. So relative to the rest of the world, North America has become a bastion of, let's say, consumer safety, while the rest of the world seems to be having a little bit of a problem, to say the least. And if you're wondering what those problems are, go check out the other videos we have on that topic. So going from Nike, we're going to go and see. Okay, so looking at the company here, I'm going to just discuss a brief moment with you guys here. You can see that we've made some changes here. I'm going to start explaining some of these growth rates. So the sector as a whole is supposed to grow globally at about 6%. So that's why 6% gets the highest weighting here. And 12% is that pipe dream, with including a lower than 6% growth at about 2-ish% on a more conservative basis. And you can kind of start to see where my opinion is going to lie, is that Nike is perhaps a bit on the overvalued side, or at least you're not getting that margin of safety, that necessary margin of safety that I would be looking for. You're basically buying into this company under the understanding, well, yes, it is quality. And at the end of the day, that's where I'm going to be just saying out loud or highlighting this is a quality business, but maybe not so for me to buy. I know it sounds weird to say it that way, but we do have a strong buy rating by analysts with a price target of $107.63, implying an 18.14% upside there. We do have a strong measure of return on equity, return on invested capital as well. We also are seeing that the company's not at risk of bankruptcy, but go figure. Strong sentiment rating there. And you can also start to see here, according to some institutions, what is the rating. Pretty positive for the most part overall. Now, we do see that sales are expected to come down, but cash flows are expected to come up according to analyst estimates. Now, as far as sales go into 2023 and 2024, they are just estimates, but analysts are estimating about a little bit of growth, but not too much growth. Okay, there's still a bit of a question mark with the overall economy. Remember that Nike at the end of the day is a discretionary product, and if you guys have been watching the channel for quite some time, we've been talking a lot about what the reaction should be with discretionary goods as we start to see the economy begin to struggle. Consumers start to reject higher prices. They start to focus more on the necessities out of necessity, pun intended, and less so on the discretionary products. Now, we do see going down here to the shares outstanding, they have actually declined since we measured in 2012, and so they are buying back shares opportunistically, or maybe not so opportunistically actually, because the company seems to be constantly at a premium. And so for the time being, it's worked out because the stock price continues to go up. But remember that it's very nuanced whether or not share buybacks or dividends are superior. I don't really take a side as to one is always better than the other. Okay, so with that being said, what are my final thoughts on Nike? My concerns are, of course, global growth. What is the growth rate of the middle class around the world, the various markets that they're involved in? How is their pricing power in the United States? How is their supply chain? Are they able to secure said supply chain and provide greater ample products to the consumer at prices the consumer is willing to pay? Now, what might happen in the future? I have no idea. For me personally, I am not going to really be involved in Nike, but I can see why others would want to get involvement in this company. Just off of the basis of quality, adding Nike to your portfolio, you might be more inclined to, let's say, sleep well at night that it's not going to go bankrupt, to say the least. I can probably stand by that position 100%. I don't think Nike in the foreseeable future is at risk of going bankrupt, but that's not really that much of a bold statement. With that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.